And we're back. This is Investing Insights with Barry Burnett. I'm your host here on Talk Radio 790 KABC with Investing Insights with Barry Burnett for you as entrepreneurial investors to make your real estate investments stronger, safer, smarter. This show is dedicated to curriculum for you as an entrepreneurial investor. And tonight we're talking with Bob Andersen, practicing attorney and mediator in Riverside, handles the entire Inland Empire area. Bob, mediation. You never want to get sideways with anyone, but sometimes you get sideways, and sometimes the people you get sideways with are government agencies wanting to take your property. Do you ever mediate in eminent domain situations?
Yes, I did a lot of it. Before, when I was litigating, I did a lot of eminent domain. So now that I'm doing a mediation, I also do mediation for eminent domain
Okay,
cases.
Explain what eminent domain is.
A public entity is trying to take someone's private property for public use.
City, county, park, anything, wants to take your property.
Right.
So what do they have to do? They have to compensate you for it?
They have to pay just compensation.
Do they have to prove there's a need, or do they just take it?
In most cases, they don't have to prove a need. They do have to prove that there is a public use.
Okay.
Now there's a category of cases where back east there was a U.S. Supreme Court case where there wasn't for public use. It was just so. But the general rule is it's for public use. If somebody's taking in Southern California, they may take it for freeway. Or an easement for a gas line or an electric line. All those are clearly public uses.
Well, hopefully they're not going to put a freeway off-ramp through your living room and kitchen.
Well, one of the cases that I dealt with a widening of the freeway.
Okay.
So when you widen the freeway, how much land does the freeway need to widen? It may be 20, 30, 40 feet, depending on what they're widening. So they may not want to take the property owner, the investor's entire property. They may want to just take a portion of the property.
Oh, the swimming pool.
Or half the swimming pool.
Oh.
So you got to figure out, well, what are the damages? And I was mediating with one case where the owner had a trucking company. And if you take 20, 30 feet off their property, it made it real difficult for the owner to trade, to move the trucks around. So they could still put trucks on the property, but they had to drive them in such a way that it was very different. So
they could put them there, they just couldn't get them off.
It was very difficult. They even actually had to go a different route in order to get there.
So it basically ruined their business model.
That was our perspective.
Okay.
And the freeways model was we're only taking 30 feet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's my 30 feet. Okay,
yeah.
So what was the solution?
Okay, well, when I mediated it, they didn't actually solve it that day. However, they could have, and here's what's brilliant in eminent domain, if the public entity has a little bit of flexibility,
mm-hmm.
and the property owner also has a little bit of flexibility, you might say, okay, you can have this much here. Put your freeway's got to be pretty straight, but you can, with a electric line or a sewer line, move it over 10 feet. And then I don't have a problem with what I'm doing on top of it.
Yeah.
Don't put it underneath my building, put it 10 feet away from the building.
Okay.
And so you can mediate, you can solve the problem without going through a big court case and trying to decide how much that damage to the land is. Because the property owner may think it's extreme damage to the land,
right.
Whereas the public entity says, this isn't a problem.
Yeah.
We don't even think we've damaged the land.
And so the mediation instead of litigation is a good solution. We're talking with Bob Andersen, practicing attorney, mediator in Riverside and Inland Empire. And if within the sound of his voice, if you've got any need, you can contact him. Get a hold of him through barryburnett.net. barryburnett.net. And you'll also register for our fabulous contests, and you'll be receiving our white papers and emails. You can register for our blogs, and we've got tremendous information and access to our expert contributing partners, such as Bob Andersen with Andersen Mediation. And Bob, you're talking about eminent domain and how it impacts our commercial and entrepreneurial investors. Where do we go from here? What were some of the sunshine cases that maybe were great successes?
Okay, well, let me tell you about one where one property owner was suing another property owner for an easement. They didn't have a driveway to get out off their property. It appeared that they were totally landlocked. We talked about putting a helicopter port there. Today we might talk about putting an Amazon delivery system.
Drone delivery.
But basically they couldn't do much with the property, and it was very difficult to figure out what to do with it. So either they were
they owned it but couldn't get to it.
They owned it, but they were suing their neighbor for an easement. But it was questionable whether they actually had the ability to get an easement if they went to court. It turned out the property owner happened to be a 501c charitable corporation, so they could actually give it to them as a tax deduction and actually get some benefit out of the fact that their land was very possibly landlocked.
So the other private property owner didn't lose property; they just granted the ability to travel across it, and in return they got a tax break.
They got an income tax break, and the neighbor got more land.
So that sounds like a win.
Yeah, well, I think for both parties, they both went away happy on that.
Keep that thought. Okay. We're going to be right back. This is Investing Insights with Barry Burnett, our spectacular guest, Bob Andersen, talking about cases, case law, and how it impacts you as an entrepreneurial investor. Stay tuned. We're coming right back.